Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Welcome, guys. And Cindy will be joining us shortly. We had a lot of birds that looked like they needed a bath, so we're filling the bird bath, and I'm sure they're appreciating it as we do our best to take care of Mother Nature. Mother Nature is going to always take care of us when we put out the love for her own. So I hope everybody is doing well. Yeah, it looks like Jen and the Birds, number one.
Hello there, Miss Jen and the Birds. Good to see you. Thanks for dropping in. Jill Anderson, did you already say hi to everyone? There's our Renee. Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, glad you made the live stream, Jill. Always good to see you, dear Renee. Annie Lou Who in the house, and Dan's here as well, over there in Arizona. And Ray, good to see you too. K-Heads, salutations. And there we go, Chris Brook. Good evening, citizens from FEMA Region 4, Old Hickory, Tennessee. Sin Havoc, let the games begin. Skydra Deanna, perfect timing. Jenny Pace, good to see you too. Well, guys, I hope you're staying cool out there. It is a scorcher.
It is. It's very hot. I just filled the bird bath with water, and those poor things, how do you get out of this heat? Because the water was hot from the hose, so I had to let that run for a bit so that it wasn't too hot. And then even though you put it in the bird bath, bird bath is still hot. But the birds were up here just panting, on their little bird thingies, and I felt so bad. And the bird bath was dry, so I went and I filled that up. I hope it helps some. All we can do is what we can do.
Yeah. It's one of those things. Good to see you, Diana. I wonder how the weather is over there in Western North Carolina. It's just one of those things where it's summer, it's going to be hot, but again, we're breaking records every time we look. The extremes just get more extreme every day. Good to see you guys. Regina is in the house. Wonderful to see you, Regina. Very comfortable up in Wisconsin. Oh, we are envious. We are envious, Jill. Yeah, definitely would be nice to be somewhere up in Wisconsin or maybe the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, maybe Maine. Maine was wonderful in the summer. I definitely love Maine as well. Spent a lot of time with my uncle and cousins as a kid up in Vermont and New Hampshire and even New York State camping. And that was just a favorite thing to do as a kid. My uncle Grover, yeah, that's his name, Grover. He's quite a just unusual guy. Wonderful heart. And he was always up for adventure. And so he would always just stop by and grab you and say, hey, let's just go camping. Let's just go for a hike. Maybe that's part of why I like nature so much. It's the growing up in that scenario.
Oh, wow. And 5-gallon buckets. Jenna is putting everything out. What about if you put out a 5-gallon bucket, Jen? Is it possible they could fall in? That's my only concern about a 5-gallon bucket. But that's a really good idea. People should put out more stuff for the wildlife because, I mean, as humans, we have encroached on their energy. And I've heard stories where people had a really beautiful wildlife kind of thing across the street, and then somebody comes in with a bulldozer and bulldozes it all down. I know with my rose bushes I have out front, I probably have like 5 bird nests inside of my rose bushes, and they're just so happy. So I do my best to make sure Mike is so good. I mean, I do okay, but Mike is awesome about making sure everybody has a little something.
Yeah, okay, this is what I just did, making my rounds. I went and put out bird food for the birds, and then more chicken food for the chickens in the back, and then corn for the deer, and then little bits of sardines for the fox that lives right by us in the woods with bad case of mange. And we did put a little bit of the stuff that begins with an I. That's very anti-parasitic. And you know what? We gave him some sardines with that in it last week, and he looked a lot better today. He looked a lot better.
Yeah, he didn't have like his skin, you could tell it just had more of a fox color, almost like I'm hoping that the hair is going to grow back in. That poor little guy is miserable.
I feel a little bit bad because we kind of booted them from the fox den that was in the backyard. They had a fox den. The rabbits had a burrow too. Where the rabbits had their burrow, now the chicken coop is there. So that kind of pushed the rabbits a little farther up the yard. And then we kind of pushed the foxes. We didn't harm them in any way, but with Rama and Sita being in the backyard and having the run of it, the foxes have to steer clear of coming into the backyard typically.
Yeah, they still have a big, beautiful front yard to play in and a whole lake to run around. So it's great.
Yeah, we've only utilized like 1 acre so as far as for growing things and for the chicken coop and storage and things like that. So I plan on extending out as time goes on and utilizing more as needed as we expand the gardens and ultimately put another greenhouse out there. If you haven't checked out evolutionaryenergyarts.com, please do. You could learn more about us and you could check out the market where now we have merchandise. Cindy and I, we are, we view ourselves as healers, teachers, guides, Reiki master. That's just one of the things with our backgrounds. Again, we have varied backgrounds. Cindy has amazing ability when it comes to psychic gifts. And I work on developing mine as much as I can as well. But also, I was a personal trainer. I've specialized in sports nutrition. I've also been a massage therapist and helped people with rehabilitation, especially after traumatic injuries and things like that. And yeah, we could do, again, because of quantum entanglement, we could do the energy work, Vedic astrology, coaching, life coaching, all this from a distance, which we do. And, we've worked on thousands of people throughout the years.
Let me just brag on my husband a minute. He is very well versed with the human body and things of that nature. So if someone needed some type of rehab, he's so good at it. Oh my gosh, he could tell you what exercises to do, which muscles to strengthen. He has, all the book work, and he's also like a medical intuitive. And then, my part falls where my part falls. But I do think that we work really well together. People usually come to us because they get both the masculine and the feminine energy together. It's a very balanced session, and we get a lot of information. I have, the shaman aspect of everything, and Mike has the shaman aspect plus the learned aspect of it all. So I love our market. Our elf created our market, and we are just so grateful to her for helping us set this up so that we can have some type of camaraderie. And all of these things are charged. I lay in bed and I think about these things and I charge them. All of the shirts, sweaters, buttons, the the Loka Samasta Sukino Bhavantu that Mike always says, that's a sigil that I created from that. So I just thought it's kind of a mouthful to say sometimes, and why not have a sigil? Wouldn't that be easier? So if you have that energy, that's what it's going to put out. And Mike can tell you what Loka Samasta Sukino Bhavantu actually means.
Yeah, it's kind of the perfect blessing. It means may all beings everywhere be happy and free. That's all we want. Just everybody to be happy, to pursue, your own things that make your heart flutter, and also free. We need to truly be free. As I was saying yesterday, I think it was yesterday in the live, are we truly the land of the free? Not when you have all these laws and restrictions in place, not when your house, even if you had it paid off, could be taken if something happens with getting behind on taxes. And, again, the system, the IRS, again, and where all this money goes, Where does it go? Well, the Fed doesn't know. I mean, there was another article today talking about missing trillions. Literally, again, we need to change things. We need to change. Starts with us. And that's what that is all about. It's recognizing Loka samasta suki no bhavantu, for beings everywhere to be happy and free. It's got to start with you. And that's the last part of that. Um, that all the things that you do, your energy, your intentions, it's all going to help humanity and the entire planet be free and happy and able to pursue the things that you want to pursue. Again, without harm, of course. And ahimsa is a property that we've talked about a lot of times too. It's trying to do no harm, and I think that's a good approach to have in life. Is something going to cause harm to others? Then let's find a different way of doing it. We want to thank everybody for your support over on Patreon, also with YouTube memberships as well. We did do an exclusive over on Evolutionary on YT for members, and also here on Patreon. I was going to put it on EEARTS too, but then I thought it's still kind of touchy, and if they try to do anything, I would hate to have two of the channels like with strikes or something. That would really, really suck. So I just put it on the one. And we did a video over here on the baby channel, the newest, youngest channel, Heart's Home. And it was talking about humanity's destiny is calling. The great realignment is beginning. This was a channeled message that Cindy has been working on. So please do go check it out. And if you aren't subscribed to Heart's Home, please do. Again, we appreciate your support.
It is very helpful. It allows us to keep bringing everyone together the way we do. And it allows us to, kind of get our feet on the ground and keep bringing you the positive information. And boy, people have needed it lately. It's been really tough. I think Mercury is finally out of retrograde, but Saturn's fixing to go in, and that can be difficult. It can just bring another heavier energy, but showing us our karma, showing us things that we need to work on. It's heavy out there.
Yeah,
Be good to yourself.
it can be very heavy, very, very taxing. You have to, listen to your body, be in tune with your body. This is the Schumann, and it hit 77 today. So that was a pretty powerful jolt there. This is the consciousness of the planet. That's literally what this is. The ancient rishis knew this very, very well. And who are the ancient rishis? These are the wise men, the guides, the ascended masters, so to speak, that gave so much wisdom to humanity and literally did guide humanity through the Bronze Age into the Kali Yuga. And we're thankful for that wisdom that is still guiding us to this day. So when you see a number like this, it depends on the person. You might have felt as high as a kite with tons of energy, or you might have felt like you couldn't get out of bed. Everybody is a little bit different when it comes to these energies. The KP was not really high or anything, and I'm not sure what was in that particular tab. But look at Phoenix here, 118 degrees. There's records that are going to be falling, big time records. Look at this. Right now it's showing Phoenix 115. But I mean, look up to Sioux Falls, 113, Omaha, 105, Kansas City, 109, Tulsa, 109. Man, these temps, they are intense. Albuquerque is 93, and Albuquerque has a little altitude there. Closer to home for us, Dallas 101, Memphis 95, Jackson 94. It's pretty hot. Yeah, I saw Renee talking about San Francisco. This is a nice day to be in San Francisco, or maybe Seattle or Portland for sure.
I would think so. I mean, San Francisco must feel very, kind of comfortable. I remember when I went there in the summer, I didn't like it so much because it was cold. They had the wind coming off the ocean, but now that would be very handy, wouldn't it?
I would say it would be very refreshing. Absolutely. Tampa 98, New York 75. So the Northeast is nice right now, man. That looks great. I like these temperatures. Be a nice night to go camp out in the woods and do a little Bigfoot hunting. Yeah. Well, at least I think that's fun.
I know. I think it would be a lot of fun too. Just learning about the different realms that we live in. I think Bigfoot's a master of that.
Renee O'Leary, you have gray foxes there. Oh, yeah. Ours are more like the bright orange, would you say?
They're the red.
Yeah, the red and orange with black. Um, yeah, there's a lot of them too. I mean, we have so many deer here. It's crazy. It's not uncommon to see half a dozen or more at any time. Let's see. So what we have here also, this is Stefan Burns talking about a CME, coronal mass ejection, launched from the sun towards the earth. And the northern flank is expected to impact us around the 28th, so in 3 days' time or less. Yeah, this is going to be, again, one of those things that if you're a sensitive, if you're an empath, you're going to feel it. And again, how is it going to make you feel? Well, I think that really depends on where you are as far as in your energy body. If we are working on clearing a lot of traumas, then it could definitely be challenging. And that's what we're supposed to be doing at this point in time. And then again, we have the dark matrix that's causing a lot of trauma when we should be clearing ancestral trauma and, traumas that occurred earlier in life. So we could clear the way to grow, because this is all about growth.
Well, that's what this upcoming eclipse is about. So we have a chance to really shatter some old negative patterns.
Yeah, Ray says, how can a spinning planet get so hot in one spot? I don't know. Maybe there's a little directed energy involved. Just kind of saying there. Oh, here you go. NASA warns scientists understanding worst case solar storm scenario. Ah, do they know something? Is something going to happen? Just today we have that CME, and you have this article here, as if the growing risk of global economic disasters springing from the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran weren't enough to worry about. Researchers at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center are warning that miscalculations and false assumptions may have resulted in an enormous underestimation of the worst case effects of a solar storm. Wait a minute, they underestimated? Solar storms are events in which the sun experiences a massive explosion of energy, charged particles, and magnetic fields. From solar flares to coronal mass ejections, these explosions pose a danger to all kinds of electronics. Your cell phone, computer, car, gas pumps, airplanes, power stations. Yeah, again, cars are loaded with computers now. And obviously a big CME, or maybe it's not so obvious, could have an effect on anything that's computerized. The worst such event in recorded history was the Carrington event of 1859. That was back when we had telegraphs, estimated to have been as powerful as 10 billion atomic bombs. It caused the telegraphs to fail across Europe. A far more modest event in 2003 disrupted the FAA's navigation computers for more than 24 hours. And the FAA was prompted to warn that high-altitude flights might receive dangerous doses of radiation. Yeah, flying in and of itself can be very, very hazardous over the long haul and long term. Critically, the prevailing theory about solar weather posits that there's a limit to just how much energy can be injected into Earth's polar ionosphere. Alarmingly, NASA scientists are now saying there may be no such limit to the destructive energy that could rain down on the world. They derived that suspicion from more than 1 million data points where the solar wind was gauged by NASA craft in Earth orbit. These measurements show a direct correlation between the potency of solar wind and upper atmosphere currents, rather than a declining correlation, as more powerful forces confronted the theorized upper limit. There is currently no statistical evidence to suggest an upper limit to the energy transferred from the solar wind to the polar ionosphere, the researchers concluded. Again, what does this mean for us? Well, it again means we might lose the grid at some point in time, and it might take a while to reboot, so to speak, the entire system. Our planet's magnetic field does a really good job of protecting us against many space weather effects. There are, however, extreme cases where satellites unexpectedly fall back to Earth, or we lose communication and GPS signals. And boy, we are dependent, aren't we? If there is no upper limit to our planet's response to the solar wind, modeling for extreme cases needs to take this into account, and we should be vigilant of space weather effects. Fortunately, these very extreme cases are rare, but this also means we have very limited data to work with. And only time will tell what happens at the very extreme 1 in 1,000 year kind of event. So back in 2014, there was a study by Lloyd's of London that called it almost inevitable and concluded that 20 to 40 million people could endure blackouts lasting anywhere from 16 days up to 2 years. Organizations like the Foundation for Resilient Societies have long been urging the implementation of measures to harden America's power infrastructure against solar events, warning that unshielded transformers and transmission systems, which in turn fail to shield supply chains, medical devices, and societal order, threaten the survival of a significant portion of the population itself. So is this just a little fear-mongering or something we really need to pay attention to? What do you guys say?
I don't know. I know that, these things, when they happen like this, they can really help people move up to a new level, but that doesn't always mean, pretty butterflies and fluffy rainbows. It can mean difficult times, really having to take a look at your own actions and trying to figure out, like, why does my life keep turning out this way? Why do I keep pulling certain energies in my world? And I think this is actually probably part of giving us the opportunity to see that. Thank you so much for running the gauntlet. Happy late birthday. Well, thank you very, very much. We appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much, brother. We appreciate you very, very much. And, here you go. I remember going to the beach with my friends. We had senior skip day. We went down to the beach. We skipped, and then we camped on the beach often when we were able to. Well, now you have to endure apocalyptic wildfires. And, Spain and France, we were mentioning that before. The wildfires are like out of control. A 250 million people have been affected at this point by these wildfires. It's pretty extreme, and it seems to be getting worse. I do feel for the kids. I think back, my mom used to say she felt bad for us. She grew up in the 40s, the 30s and the 40s, and to her the 80s were not anywhere near as good as what she had growing up. And I think mostly it was crime related, just that there was a lot less crime back in her day. Things were a lot safer. But I think back to growing up in the 80s, and I thought it was wonderful. Honestly, we didn't have all the things that we have now. So I feel for the younger ones, younger generations, because, man, especially now, since 2017, you guys have had a lot to get through.
Yeah, it's been kind of a rough go.
250,000 people forced to flee their homes. Some of these wildfires are going to some areas with a lot of wine orchards, grape orchards, and some of the wine growing areas in France. This is impacting things from sporting events to, gosh, you name it. these wildfires are pretty out of control in France. Macron says we will rebuild. And I know that he knows what's really going on. He definitely does. Again, he was, as you know, employed by that famous banking family, begins with a ROTH. You know, he knows. He knows exactly what's going on. Climate change, climate change. That's what we're hearing, and I see people put out those statements. Well, what do you expect with climate change, guys? Yeah, the climate always changes. It never stays still. And then you have private forecasters warning a new heat event will target the U.S. East Coast. Folks across the mid Atlantic are enjoying a welcome stretch of mild weather. Temperatures in the 70s. Gosh, that's beautiful. Followed by several rounds of extreme heat earlier this month that sent temperatures into the 90s and even triple digits. Enjoy the comfortable nights in the 60s and low 70s because, there's going to be a new heat event potentially that's going to target the East Coast August 5th through 7th. Should get toasty again. So enjoy it while it lasts. Then we have Typhoon Noel approaching Guangdong. 24 inches of rain forecast. Oh, and we've been showing the floods in China. We're right along, and so many other people, like Silky, I think she's on top of it all the time. Silky's always on top of it. Yeah, she works hard. The flooding has been just insane in China. As bad as we've had it here in the U.S., it's every bit as bad in China as well. 20,000 people evacuated in this situation, and rainfall totals of 20 to 24 inches forecast as the typhoon is approaching. That is going to be a problem. 2 feet of rain? Holy cow. Can you imagine if that was snow in the winter? Wow.
No, and it really worries me because people are so, I mean, they're really put at a disadvantage, a huge disadvantage. And what about all the pets? And what if you have chickens like us? And I mean, our dogs, if we had to evacuate here, it would be very hard on our babies because they need their fenced in backyard and the chickens need their home too. So I just can't imagine so many people who are going to be forced to evacuate. Gosh, my heart goes out to them. I mean, you never want to give people anything extra to worry about. Life is so hard. I mean, we really have to do our best to stay in our own lane, keep ourselves in alignment, and just do the best we can to take care of ourselves and our families, so others don't have to worry about us. And I mean, that in and of itself could really, really help things, help people do better. Just making sure that your home is in order.
Yeah. So again, this is a really, really scary situation. This tropical storm Noel is forecast to weaken steadily after moving inland, which is expected. But the worst case scenario is that you get these storms that stall out. They cause havoc with the flooding. So yeah, we do send prayers and best intentions for everybody over there. As in my belief system, I think that the average people in every country around the world all want peace. I think it's very few that actually want these wars. I think that the civilians could get along great if they just ditch the leaders, because it's the leaders that manipulate us into these wars. And it's just up to humanity to awaken to this in mass. So, when we speak, the leaders should listen, not the other way around. Hurricane Fausto moving towards Hawaii, dangerous surf is forecast as well. It's interesting too that hurricanes, or these storms with hurricane strength or typhoon strength winds, on the eastern side of the Pacific, they're hurricanes, and then on the western side, they're typhoons. That's always hit me as strange. Why do we need the double designation? And then, of course, if you're below the equator, the reversal of the winds is a curious thing too, isn't it? I've always found that very curious. I also found very curious just how intense the winds are down below Australia, and like the area south of the Indian Ocean, it's known the South Indian Ocean is known for just tremendous winds. When you really look at where the equator is, I think they're hiding a ton of land from us. I just gotta mention that. I just don't think the land masses make sense. Here you can see it looks like this is going to go just north of the main island, but definitely impact the other islands. So let us, send out prayers there as well. 2 dead in Upshur County due to catastrophic flooding in West Virginia. I don't know what the total number is of lives lost due to flooding, but I swear 2026 is going to be one for the record books. 2025 was. Here you had 7 inches of rain in a small time period. The flooding that we've seen has just been insane. And it does have more of the masses waking up and saying what's going on. But if you don't pay attention to anything, all you're going to hear is climate change, and you're going to think, oh, maybe I have to drive a little bit less.
Yeah, there's just so much information being thrown out there, and that word climate change is getting thrown around a lot too. And and it's so much deeper than that. There's so much more going on, and unless and until you really have the time to sit down and dig up the information, you just don't really know. It takes time to go digging into this stuff to figure out the truth for yourself, and most people are just so busy working, 7 or even 8 days a week, it seems like, at 2 or 3 jobs. I mean, how do they have time to do the research? You can't always go off what somebody else says. I mean, their perception could be way off of what your perception is. So we all have to do our own work. It's just hard right now. It's really hard to find the time to do that.
Relatively quiet right now, the last 24 hours, looking at the USGS. And so that area I was talking about is like down in here. The winds are known to be very wicked, very, very challenging. Um, I think there's a lot that we don't know about this realm. Yeah, it is very, very strange to say the least. Well, the biggest quake that we had was a 5.7 right here, Tierra del Fuego area, Argentina, and Chile, down here. So other than that, it's pretty light. 5.1, Puerto Madero in Mexico up above it. But we'll keep our eyes open. And, new activity for 5 new volcanoes coming online the last week, ongoing activity for 17 others. So that's 22. So the total number, a little bit less than what we had the previous week. I believe we're at 28. This is Albuquerque. You have some monsoon rains and the arroyo and the flood channel system roaring in Albuquerque. It's always like so wild to see desert, get flooded. It just feels so bizarre.
Yeah, it is. It's not good when that desert gets flooded because the water doesn't like go into the ground very quickly. It's just more like it's falling on cement and it just creates and that's why those flash floods can be so devastating even out there in the desert. You think it's dry and you see a rainstorm and the road looks okay, and then all of a sudden you get inundated with a flash flood. They can be really, really deadly. You've got to be careful with those flash floods. I mean, they're exactly that. It's dry one minute and it's just not the next. So be careful out there, you guys. A lot is going on.
And we don't want to see this go dry. Lake Mead and Lake Powell. I mean, you're at like 25 or 27%. I think it's 27 and 23 actually. That's real low. And you could see the time lapse. You're going to have like 40 million people that are not going to be able to stay wet. you know, Without this, we really can't have a Phoenix or a Las Vegas. And there's so many people living in the desert that if this dries up, what are they going to do?
I don't know. I just absolutely love the desert. It is a beautiful place. It's barren. It's taught me so much. Just living on this planet. I would really hate to see people have to leave the desert because there's not enough water. And I don't even think that it's because there's not enough water. I really think that it's being detoured somewhere, and it's so wrong.
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, maybe if people stop pooping in the beach or at the beach, there'd be less spread of E. coli in our lake waters. There's certainly some stuff going around. We had that stomach bug, and so right here they're just talking about, make sure you don't poop in the water, etc. when people are at the beach. I just think that's kind of public courtesy, don't you?
Well, it should be obvious, I guess, but maybe for some people it's not. I don't know. I wouldn't really want to go to a beach with other people there. I kind of like to, keep it to myself with just me because you never know. You just don't know what other people are going to do. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, again, the stomach bug thing has been still going around. Um, just be aware of what you're intaking as much as possible. I know it's hard to stop whatever's raining down on us, but just, again, be aware. And, as we would always say, eat, eat organic as best and as much as you can, even though it's not going to be perfect. It is, in general, much better than that which is, not organic. There was a meteorite that went through a house. Remember this last year in New Jersey? Well, analyzing this meteorite that crashed through a roof of a Jersey home last year uh, brought out that it contained the chemistry of alien life. It was a sonic boom, shook New York City after a space rock the size of a heavy airline bag blasted through the atmosphere, streaked past the Statue of Liberty at 32,000 miles an hour on July 16th, 2024. Meteor was seen by 60 different people, or at least reported that many times. New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania. Eventually broke apart, and a 2-pound chunk of it slammed into a house. And so it contains the building blocks of life. And that really gets you thinking about, man, just transmission of all sorts of stuff. Now, space, they might want you to get it to think of it as a vacuum. We think of it more as an ocean. But, at the same time, we are even told by science that there's bacteria in space and things called viruses as well.
Well, life is everywhere. We breathe it, it's everywhere. There's no way to say that any one place is empty. I mean, from where I'm at here, looking at the rose bushes out front, you would perceive that maybe there is empty space, but oh no, it is not.
Okay, so let's just listen to this, guys, and then what do you guys think?
Somewhat of a scoop. My intention to run for a fourth term as President of the United States. I will be doing that. I will be having an official. In fact, I think I have. Yeah. I won 3 times. Now I'm going to do it again. Thank you. I'm going to do it. Should be easy. I'm getting very good at running for president. No, I won 3 times, did very well the second time, by the way. It's a rigged election, but we don't have to talk about it. It's interesting when you come back and you do a good job like we did. Somewhat.
So, what do you think? Is this just facetious? Just totally a joke? Or is he saying it jokingly, but serious?
Yeah, you got to kind of ask the question.
Yeah. And that Sin Havoc, yeah. The second term was 2020, third term 2024, and so. But you remember was it The Simpsons? It kept having, it did say that it was Trump, 2016, 2020, 2024, 20. I do you remember that episode of The Simpsons? I think it went into the 2030s. Yeah, very, very curious.
Oh, yeah, very, very curious. So we'll have to watch and see. And, I was reading Jen's comment in there about the problem in the pool, and oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I do not get it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It really, really is. So Trump jokes he's going to run for office for the fourth term, says he won 3 times already. There's also been talk that there's some in the right leaning circles that say never JD, and will it be Rubio who's going to emerge, or will it be Donald Trump Jr. or somebody else in the family? I mean, they just basically are handing the senatorship to Lindsey Graham's sister, of all people, who doesn't really have any experience at all to really consider. So, I mean, are they just going to do away with the illusion? And we all know that it's just like the WWE, WWF, right? Is that where we're heading?
I don't know. Looks kind of weird.
Yeah, it does. It does. Just trolling, just being a bee breaker, pursuing another, just jesting. Well, we know 22nd Amendment, which again, you had FDR for 4 terms. So, I mean, there was a precedent, and it was because of FDR having that long term and dying in office, by the way, that they put the 22nd Amendment in, ratified in 1951. No person shall be elected to the office of president more than twice. So, yeah. Well, maybe they're just going to do away with the system. The Last President, right? That book talked about the last president and talked about Baron Trump's adventures. Meanwhile, Yemen's Houthis have reportedly struck Saudi Aramco's Jazan oil facilities with multiple ballistic missiles. Videos show massive fire and mushroom-shaped plumes rising over the area. Regional reports indicate at least 5 ballistic missiles were fired towards Jazan on Saudi Arabia's Red Sea coast. Second wave of Yemeni ballistic missiles was reportedly launched shortly afterwards. So, yeah, the war is obviously expanding. And again, it's going to drive up food costs, energy costs. We've seen it. The writing is on the wall. It's pretty plain to see. Here you have Americans protesting against the merger of the U.S. military with a tiny little, yeah, you get the picture, that other place in the Middle East, Yeah, I don't think we've seen anything yet when it comes to internal protest and the like. So, wow, yeah, it's not a good situation. Then you have a former flock safety employee broke his silence and starts talking about these cameras and literally, how to take them down and stuff. But also just, again, the fact that everything that we see is going to be recorded. Do you think there could be any purpose behind all these cameras going up in the United States? Because maybe the U.S. will not be under the same power structure. And maybe this is a way to watch people very closely going through a very tenuous period of time. Interesting. I was listening to 2 other psychics / Vedic astrologers I'd never seen before from India talking, and it's amazing how everybody's on the same path. Everybody sees the same thing. We see that there's this Third World War that they're intent on doing, but that ultimately it does kind of lead to the downfall of the system. And these 2 had seen that China will eventually collapse. They were saying more like around 2032 to 2036, but the U.S. will go and kind of go the route of the UK in being like a second tier power. But we'll see. I think, again, we could affect a lot of things And we definitely can shift timelines. Here's the Colombian president, Gustavo Petro, to Trump. Instead of arresting President of Venezuela over oil, you should have arrested the guy in the Middle Eastern country that is committing some of the worst crimes that you can imagine, who's actually wanted by the International Criminal Court. Although now the leader of the International Criminal Court is not in position anymore, so I don't know if they could try him now when you think about it.
Oh, they thrive on chaos and confusion.
And in case you missed it, there supposedly is investigations underway looking into the Newsoms and some of their activities. Investigators are said to have extensive wiretap evidence, and transcripts are seeking to identify and charge as many individuals involved as possible. Corruption charges involving Newsom and his wife and all. Wouldn't surprise me in the least. No. Again, he's even been on record admitting that he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, so to speak.
Agreed.
Yeah, but he probably has never met a bribe he didn't like. Eating eggs linked to dangerous heart condition that triggers stroke, a new study suggests. Really? Eating eggs could increase the risk of developing a dangerous heart rhythm problem that could trigger deadly stroke. Researchers found a link between a compound found in the bloodstream that's released after eating a number of everyday foods, including egg yolks and beefsteak, and atrial fibrillation. Well, it seems like there's a lot of people out there. There's certain groups that want to keep us from eating meat and perhaps eggs as well. There certainly seems to have been an attack on the food supply in regards to that. But, none of the Franken foods for us, only actual natural foods, only whole foods that we could put together and create something with. And personally, I'm not scared of eggs at all. Now, at the same time, when I bought store-bought eggs that were not organic, then they would make me sick. They would make my stomach sick and nauseous. Why? Well, I believe it's because they were feeding the hens GMO feed. And, again, we only buy organic for our chickens too. If you feed your chickens non-organic and then you eat their eggs, or if you eat chicken itself, you're eating what they ate. That's really important to understand.
Yeah, it's you are what you eat.
You are what you eat. So with me, and they look at things like this, just like with, there was reports that came out talking about steak and colorectal cancer and stuff. But they don't look at the steak that has had hormones injected into it, antibiotics injected into it, or might have even received some sort of RNA treatment, if you know what I mean. When you start breaking it down, look a little closer and look at what the cows were eating, look at what the chicken were eating, and what they were treated with, then you might actually start to get a better idea of things.
I think you would. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, Americans rewire their grocery shopping routines while digesting the biggest price jump in 50 years. Since right before the plague upon the land to now, food has gone up about 33%, they say, on average. 33%. There's that message, 33. That's, again, it's a master number. It's also one that the secret societies like to throw out there. And what's coming in the next maybe 6 years, let's say, is going to probably dwarf that, unless we can literally change the system ourselves.
I think that's all we can do. We have to change it, at ourselves, by ourselves, for ourselves.
Absolutely. This is just food to eat at home. I have no idea what a steak costs at a good restaurant nowadays. No clue.
Nope.
I mean, I don't know. We haven't gone out in forever. We've literally, I want to say we've eaten out once. Was it once? I think it was like once or maybe twice in literally years. Because also we really just don't trust what's in food that we don't see prepared ourselves. And, maybe that's a little neurotic, but we just think it's very important.
Well, it is so important with our line of work and what we do. It is important to keep the temple clean because that signal has got to be clear if you are working with someone. It's so important, and everything you put in your mouth is going to either enhance and clarify the signal, or it's going to dampen it.
Yeah, and I did share too that we went into town, we watched a movie, and I was throwing around the idea of stopping to actually get food out. And I did see a couple of our local restaurants, not big chains, literally were advertising products from people that we actually buy from ourselves. So that was really cool. I mean, they were advertising literally the place that we use and we trust when it comes to our food shopping. So that was really good and really made me feel hopeful. Doctors proposed harvesting organs from made euthanasia victims while still alive. If you didn't know, people that have medically assisted aid in dying, Canada, for instance, there's been more people than ever. I mean, the number is just huge and it's growing so fast, especially in proportion to the amount of people and just the population of Canada, because Canada is not a very populous nation. It's actually, for people per square mile, it's one of the least, if not the least, populated space on the planet when you look at population density. So when you have so many people that are getting assistance in passing out of this reality, and then there's a big business to harvest organs and resell them. I think a lot of this goes on in war too, if you know what I mean. It's just in my opinion, it's like Logan's Run and all these, Soylent Green. It just brings all these sci-fi horror shows into today's realm of reality.
We really are being put up against a wall, and the only good thing I can say about stuff that is this horrible is that a lot of things that were hidden are now coming out in the open. So, I mean, we can really see the character and the courage and everything that is coming out of people through such chaos. I mean, we're definitely learning what we don't want.
Yeah. And Jen says, with everything going the way it is, we've cut down to one meal a day, and that's pretty much what we do. We usually have one meal and like one little snack to get you over. Could be like this morning, watermelon from the garden, and then we'll eat after this show. It literally, I think we don't need as much food as we've been brought up to believe that we do need. And yeah, I've studied nutrition and RDAs and all that. And, again, I think too, we've been in a different yuga. Things are changing. Everything is changing. We are changing. We are evolving. So everything is going to change. Here you go. BG, that Gill guy, he ignored repeated warnings and he met Epstein 30 times. Surprised it wasn't 33. But they actually met in person 30 times between 2011 and 2014. At least that's what we're told. Netanyahu visited the island 890 times. My God, did he have his own room there? Did he have his own... I don't know. Was it his temple?
Yeah, I mean, that's just disgusting.
Actually, I think it probably was his temple when you're thinking about this. 890 times? Oh, enough said there. ICC, where are you? And then we have Mitch. Mitch says, I am fine. I'm just fine.
He's doing good. Good job, Mitch. Good job.
I'm fine. Don't worry. Rumors of my death were widely exaggerated. And here we have some orbs coming out of a classic saucer shape.
I don't know. What do we think about that? I think it's all pretty cool what's going on. They're making themselves known.
Yeah, I would be all for a Galactic Federation intervention to remove the parasites from planet Earth so that all life could literally work on the Loka Samasta Sukhi no Bhavantu. It shuts down the same day that Facebook is launched. Whitney Webb examines striking overlap between Facebook and DARPA's abandoned LifeLog project, which sought to create a detailed surveillance record of a person's entire life, including geolocation, personal relationships, and photographs. If you haven't figured it out yet, Google, Facebook, DARPA, it's really one. They're just one. They're one. I think we could just leave it at that.
Oh, no, no, no. I saw the commercials where Zuckerberg, he's there in his little bitty garage with his little bitty computer, and it was his invention, and it was just pure as can be.
I personally think he's amphibian. You know, I mean, he does hit me like maybe he's related to Albert Bourla. They look like they could be a couple of frogs there, but they would give frogs a bad name. How about this? New research reveals that smelling rose essential oil for 30 days can literally physically expand your brain's gray matter. Kid you not. All you got to do is sniff a little rose essential oil. Nature has everything that we need. Everything that we need. Women who wore rose essential oil on their clothes for just 30 days literally showed a significant increase in gray matter volume across whole brain MRI scans. Kid you not.
That is incredible. So let's just be very mindful the differences between perfume and essential oils. If you have perfume and you put it on your neck, I mean, where they recommend we put it, we have these huge lymph nodes. So, I mean, depending on what's in the perfume, and usually there's like 600 different chemicals, you're putting that right into your lymph. So be very mindful if it's perfume or essential oils. And then, you know, where does the essential oil come from? Can you trust it? So better yet, just get a rose bush and plant it.
Yeah, absolutely. We have like all different colors of beautiful roses in the front yard. And just 10 minutes of bird song in the forest is linked to stress relief. Just 10 minutes. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I love the birds, and I'm building a front porch area as well as working on expansion of the chicken coop. And I have lattice work up, and we're going to have jasmine growing all over it. And sitting there, I think we'll feel and look camouflaged. So I think we're going to get a lot of really good wildlife viewing and maybe some really good videos to share with you guys.
Oh, it's going to be great. I was just talking to Mike, was it today? I was in the chicken coop. I'm like, you know, what if we just put up a camera in the chicken coop and let people just sit there and get chicken therapy? Because the way they walk, the way they, you know, scrape the ground, it's very rhythmic, and it starts to become kind of trance-like, and you can just sort of enjoy them and watch them just simply be, you know. I think that's what we're missing in this world, is that ability to just be.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at this green flash witness after sunset. Rare atmospheric phenomena. Maybe it's a little message to all of us to hang in there. That's a good green to visualize if you need healing. Yeah, nice, vibrant, electric type of green is very powerful. Again, each color is frequency. Yeah, absolutely. And then this is some positive frequency there.
Oh my gosh, just focus on these guys for a minute. After everything that we've been through, just going through the news can be so chaotic, but I wanted to leave people with some positivity and just say, don't let chaos become your identity. So this world might be chaotic, but that doesn't mean your inner world has to be. So ask yourself each morning, what can I actually control today? And ask yourself, where can I be useful? That's actually very important for this upcoming eclipse. And how can I leave one person better than I found them, or one animal, or one thing? Like, how can you go through the day and just make the world a teeny tiny sliver bit better than it was when you came into it, when you woke up in the morning? That's always nice. And sometimes we have chaotic days, but we all do our best, right?
Loka samasta suki no bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may our words, thoughts, acts, and deeds contribute to that happiness and freedom. That is truly what we wish for everyone. And Cindy's going to do some things. We'll put out that positive frequency and vibe. And we could probably say right now we'll shoot for the same time tomorrow, same channel. And we'll do another round, and let us know too. What do you guys want to delve into more? What are some of the things that you'd like to see us covering more of? We'd love to know, and so that way we can give you what you need.
Thank you so much, Running the Gauntlet. We do appreciate your support. Mods, everyone else, keeping the room happy and full of love. Here we go. Here we go.
Thank you guys so much. We love you, and we couldn't do it without you guys, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.